Welcome everybody to Market Monitor. This is Brian, and I am here to go over the latest in the mortgage climate and what is going on with inventory, and just kind of see where we are at right now and what kind of opportunities we have in the future, whether you are a buyer or a seller, even opportunities that are out there right now, because believe me, there are a lot. All right, so let's keep this time frame relevant here, because these are stats that are recent and they're not always going to be true. But if you're checking this out anytime, like end of August into September, all this stuff is pretty recent and accurate. This is a kind of deep dive into national housing market and trends and everything, and then I'm going to translate that a little bit into what's going on locally as well. Right now, everyone across the board, but especially in Hudson County and around here in North Jersey, going through extreme inventory challenges. So you kind of have to ask yourself at this point, if you're a buyer or seller and you're thinking about moving or have been for a while, is it time to give up and just throw in the towel, or can you start preparing for what is going to happen and, use the current market and what's going on in the current climate to your advantage? Right now, I feel like it's very easy to just kind of throw up your hands in the air, give up. But what you really need to do is just calm down, take a seat, think about what's going on, make a plan, and then decide if it's a good time to act. And that's exactly what I'm going to encourage you to do through this presentation here today, or at least give you enough to think about and plan with, okay? So anyway, hope you're calm, hope you're taking a seat, tune in here for the next couple minutes. First responsibility of any leader is to define reality. So not that I'm a huge leader in anything here, but let's talk about reality, what's going on right now. So inventory right now is a problem. This is a cool graph. This is the last 12 months. So from last August through the end of July here. This is current inventory in blue, and then the shortage, the amount of millions we are to get to 6 months. So 6 months is considered a balanced market. That would be the absorption rate, or months of inventory basically means if it's at 6 months, if nothing else came on the market, it would take 6 months for what is out there to get absorbed. In market over the past year, it's been at, high 2s to maybe lower 3s, which is an extreme example, or maybe, extreme in a lot of cases, especially below 3, of a seller's market, or a market that's pretty advantageous for sellers and not so advantageous for buyers, for sure. So low inventory, and that several reasons for that. So today's homeowners on average are staying 9.3 years nationwide. From 85 to 2009, that average was 6 years. So people are staying on average 50% more, going from 6 to 3. I'm sorry, from 6, add another 3 years up to 9 years. That's pretty long. And not a lot of these people are doing this because they feel they have a choice. A lot of people feel this, what we call a locked-in effect, or they're locked in, or they have golden handcuffs. Kind of used interchangeably here, and we're going to dive deeper into this. But a lot of people just feel stuck because of the mortgage rate that they had, or owning their home outright and nowhere to go because of mortgage rates. Another reason why we are so low on inventory here is because over the past 14 years, new homes, not resales or homes that already exist, but new home development has been below the average for the previous 52 years. This is a slide I keep coming back to, but it's true. I mean, it's been slowly increasing since 2010, but there's still a huge gap here between the number of new houses we would need in this country to help keep up with the amount of demand and the people that are looking for a new house, ready, willing, and able to buy something right now. Housing market shortage in millions of homes. So these are a bunch of different companies that, are experts in or work directly in the field of real estate, some lenders, Realtor.com, obviously a listing platform. But these guys are all forecasting here anywhere between 1.5 to almost 5.25 million homes short of what the demand is right now, or the appetite that buyers currently have for homes in this nation, which is huge, even 1.6. 1.6 million people who are ready, willing, and able to buy something right now that cannot find a home. Active listing count, the numbers got cut off here, but this is from 2007. I'm sorry, 2017, and goes. This is every month since 2017 through July of this year, and everything kind of goes through this like summer roller coaster. But this overall trend is down, as you can see. No bueno. Lawrence Yun, the chief economist there at National Association of Realtors, says two factors are driving current sale activity: inventory availability, which we just talked about, and mortgage rates. And unfortunately, both have been unfavorable to buyers lately. New listings below previous years. So 2023 here, this blue line that obviously isn't complete yet. So this is new monthly listing counts starting in January. I mean, these lines all kind of follow the same general shape. And I would argue that in Hudson County or close by, you kind of get a little bit of a bump here after Labor Day. We generally see a little bit more inventory, but it's not huge. It doesn't spike by any means. But just new listing count has just been going down year over year. And a lot of that has to do with interest rates just compounding, because not only can buyers afford less or decide that they can't afford something, but would-be sellers decide to stay in their home because they feel like the options for them trading out are not good enough. So newly listed homes is just kind of another way to look at this graph, but this is, or that previous graph, but this is just this year compared to last year. So through July here, we're anywhere, I would say, between 2/3 to maybe 3/4 at best, the amount of listings that we've seen just last year. And then compared to 4 years ago, right before the pandemic, which was our last kind of relatively normal year, where I would say maybe half of the number of listings at best that we had compared to 2019. Let's talk about the other factor here, especially considering what Lawrence Yun was saying. So the two factors that have really kind of kept inventory very low, the other half being mortgage rates. This chief economist at Realtor.com says interest rate hikes continue to further cut into buyers' purchasing power, although they appear to have adapted to the higher mortgage rate environment faster than sellers, many of whom are still on the sidelines, locked into lower interest rates and unwilling to cash into their home's equity to purchase another. Conversation I have a lot with people. I like to do a fair amount of what we call circle dialing and calling around recent listings or places that have sold just to see if people have any interest, because we all have a lot of buyers that are looking to move. So if I can find something for someone, even better. But a lot of the conversations that I have with would-be sellers are like, look, yeah, I like my home. It's fine. I would move to, down the shore or Florida or Asheville or Texas or whatever. That would be really great. But, I either own my home outright, or my interest rates are so low that my monthly payments are something extremely affordable right now. And if I decide to sell this and then move to the place that I want to go, I'm literally going to be paying like double, and I just can't do that, or I'm not willing to do that, which obviously is a problem. We're going to get into this, but one way that could be maybe not a silver bullet to that, but if you have a decent amount of equity in your current home and you would like to move, it's just that payment thing. You might consider how much equity you have and maybe using that equity in this market and plugging that directly into your new home and putting as much of that as you can to really lower that interest rate. Something to think about, and we'll talk about that here. But anyway, this is very similar to the conversation that I've been having very much recently. This is what I was just talking about. 70.7% of mortgage rates that are being held currently by U.S. homeowners are less than 4%. So a huge chunk of this, obviously 70%. So a little over a third people either bought when interest rates were extremely low a couple of years ago. And I keep using the term artificially low because we had to prop up this really bad economy from all the lockdowns. Or like me, refinanced when those interest rates were super low. So almost a third of homeowners right now have an interest rate that has a 2 in the front of it. And then another huge, maybe 25 to 30% of people have an interest rate between 3 and 4. And then the rest of the population, around 30%, have an interest rate above 4. And that contributes a lot to this lock-in effect. And if you poll these people here, and it pretty much falls directly in line with, the people that have, this less than 3 interest rate, no interest in selling. A huge chunk of the people that have an interest rate between 3 and 4, probably not selling unless something major happens. Between 4 and 5, they got to think hard about it. Between 5 and 6, yep, probably will be very soon. And people above 6 will be like, absolutely, I would sell today. Uh, about 1 in 4 homeowners are considering selling within the next 3 years. And you see, I mean, this kind of fluctuates here quarterly over the past couple of years between 15 and maybe 19 or 20%. This is kind of going up here recently. I kind of feel this is what a lot of people are going through. If we were to jump back into 2020, people feeling stuck in their homes are like, absolutely, I'm moving. And as soon as things open up, I'm out of here. It's probably 50%. This is encouraging that we see people that are willing to move. Hopefully, this rubber band effect that we have with interest rates and people being unwilling or really not motivated to move doesn't snap too hard when something finally gives, which is probably going to be interest rates. But there are a fair amount of people here that are just kind of like, they would consider moving, but maybe are just stuck in their own head or stuck with this interest rate and just feel like they don't have an option. So let's kind of dive into that and see if that's really the situation here. So Zillow says in their survey, recent survey has identified the mortgage rate tipping point that makes homeowners more likely to move, which is key in unlocking the housing market and slowing price growth. Homeowners with a mortgage rate above 5 are nearly twice as likely to say that they plan to sell their home than those paying below 5%. So that is like a big, line in the sand for a lot of people, that 5%. Mortgage rate projections, I'm going to say, take this with a grain of salt. It's very difficult to project mortgage rates as we've seen, especially this year. But that being said, these three financiers, Fannie Mae and the MBA anyway, and then National Association of Realtors. And then the average of all three, I would kind of rather look at this average, but they're saying between Q4 of this year and over the next year into Q3, into next year, people are predicting, these experts, that it is going to slowly drop towards 5, at least get down below 6. That might not necessarily be a great thing if you are one of those 1 in 4 people that are considering moving or would like to move here soon that I've been talking to. It's like, oh yeah, it'd be great. I would much rather live in, LBI or something. I just feel locked into my interest rate. Maybe you think about like, is it really going to be worth having that lower interest rate by a point or a point and a half? Because if you think about it, the opportunity that I'm seeing right now, and a lot of the people on my team are seeing, are the buyers that are still in the market right now that are finding things that they can afford. There's less competition than there have been in recent months. We might still be getting in bidding wars every once in a while, but with less people, or if you really are, have an open mind or are looking in the right areas, you can find opportunities in places that have been on the market for a while and maybe even negotiate the price. That's not unheard of, but having less competition as far as a buyer is always a good thing. And if interest rates come down, it's just going to be more competition and probably inflate prices even more. We really haven't seen prices come down on average at all in a very long time, and definitely not with any of this interest rates going up. The places across the country that have seen some depreciation, like actual meaningful depreciation, are the places that had the most appreciation, the hugest spikes after COVID, like 2020, end of 2020 into like, I would say the middle of last year. Some neighborhoods in like Texas or these like Sunbelt places where people who like could work from home forever all just like ran out to these places, and prices literally went like up 25% in a matter of a month or over a couple months. Those are the places that are seeing depreciation off of those extreme highs. But I mean, what do you expect? I mean, something's going to go up this sharp in a climate like this, it's going to come down. That is to say, nationwide and locally, and the average here, the overwhelming average of a lot of places in the US have not seen any meaningful depreciation. And the lack of inventory really means inflated or slightly inflated prices, or maybe inflated isn't the right term. It's just like prices are not coming down. They are staying very high. Definitely higher than the averages used to be a year or 2 years ago. So anyway, that is to say, if mortgage rates come down and a bunch of buyers flood the market again and there's more competition, it's going to keep those prices high and probably even higher than they are right now. So if you're a buyer, you're just a buyer, you're renting, find something that's still affordable with today's interest rates, because you really can't affect that right now. And I'm not saying buy something that you can't afford. Definitely find something that you can afford, but if you can afford it, buy it and you like it. If you can afford it and you like it, buy it, because the competition is probably really, really low right now for sure. And it's only going to come back when interest rates get lower. And on the other side of that, if you're a seller and you feel, or a potential seller, if you're a homeowner that would rather live somewhere else, but you feel locked in, take a look at how much equity you have, or really just consider like, okay, my house right now is probably worth an all-time high, at least in the past several years. It might be worth seeing at least exploring what you might be able to get for it in today's market, and then using every single penny of that, or as much as you can, to use the next down payment or on your next home. Well, interest rates are still a little bit higher, but those prices are still more affordable, because in a couple months or this time next year, let's just say they are at 5.75%, you probably are going to get more for your current home because there's going to be more buyers in the market, but you're going to have to make sure your home is competition ready, because there's going to be more competition with homes for sale in the market. So you better hope that yours is, or prepare that yours is one of the best ones on the market to get that good price. And then when you're turning around to look for your next property, might cost a little bit more because there's more buyers looking for it as well. Those are my big takeaway points in today's Market Monitor episode. I'm going to try to run through the rest of these here relatively quickly, but this is something that I've been seeing and hearing a lot recently, and it makes sense. Mortgage rates are less relevant to older homeowners. A lot of these people own their home outright. So 1 in 4, about 26%, say high mortgage rates would not impact their decision on when to sell their home. And I think the flip side of this, or the part that this graph or this slide doesn't show, is that it's because a lot of these people don't have a mortgage anymore. They own their home outright. So if you have, a $500,000 home or $1 million home, and you sell that to buy something else, you can literally use every single penny of that and put it towards your next house, and either buy that cash, so mortgage rates obviously don't matter, or put down like 50% and really lower that payment to something that is like very reasonable to you. Not a lot of millennials or Gen Z people like really have that option right now. I thought this was interesting, so I just plugged it in. So like, this is just polling people. What would you be willing to do to delay, to avoid having to pay a higher? Basically, what would you do to delay like moving? A lot of these people, 10% less, would not relocate for a higher paying job, would continue to live with their partner after splitting up, or keep their children in an undesirable school district as a result of these high interest rates. Most people say they wouldn't do any of these things. And like, if you got a higher paying job, or you split up, or there was a better place to move your kids, like you would actually do that, even though there's higher rates. All right, so whether or not you're ready to talk about real estate, I'm always here for you. But if you're interviewing agents, I always encourage you to think about who you're talking to. Most agents know what's happening. They can regurgitate facts. Most agents understand what's happening, or like why it's happening. But great agents can really explain what's going on and like help you understand what the opportunities are now, what opportunities might there be in the future, and then really help you kind of strategize and get a plan over what is going to be best in your situation, because everyone's got their own life and their own things going on. So a really great agent, and what I would really like, what I've been doing that's very successful, and the people on my team that have been doing recently that's very successful, is just, when you're ready or have 15 or 20 minutes, jump on a phone call with your realtor, and just really map out what's going on right now. How do I feel about my current situation? What are my motivations like for moving, if I have them, or thinking about moving? And just what are my real estate goals here in the next 6 months or a year or 2 years? And just putting together maybe a basic strategy or a plan about how to go about that. And pretty often that plan is, it's probably going to work out a little bit better to stay where I am for at least a little while, but at least you have that conversation going, and you can feel more confident about what's going to happen for the rest of this year, and the beginning of next year, and just feel more secure about making the right plan and not just letting things happen to you. So that's what I encourage you to do. I'm always here to help out with that, really kind of organize your thoughts around what's going on in your life currently and where you want to be, if it's not exactly where you are right now. So I hope this helped you not only calm down, sit down, but think about what your options are and then maybe make a plan. I'm going to leave you kind of with this one. Hopefully this is you in the green or the blue here, but almost 70%, 68.7% of homeowners in America have a mortgage that is less than half of the equity in their home. So that means you own more than half of your home in your own equity. And if you were to sell and cash out, you would be able to keep more than half of that money that you get from the sale of your home versus the amount that you would have to pay back on your loan at the closing table. And if you're unhappy with where you're at now, or you're thinking about moving and you feel stuck, might be time for just an equity check-in. And I do these with my clients basically every year, or I try to anyway. I send them something, whether they ask for it or not, and just say like, look, might be worth knowing that in today's market, your home is probably worth X. And, think about what your equity is, because when you bought this, you put X down payment, you've been paying it off for this many months, for this many years, your equity is probably around here. And let's say your house is worth $1 million and your equity is at 50%. You sold it tomorrow, you could take $500,000 and put that as your down payment, or pay cash on a $500,000 house in the place that you'd rather live. So just something to think about. Keep those wheels turning and help you out with your plan. And then you can decide when is the right time to act. So anyway, hope y'all are having a good time. This is probably around your Labor Day. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great, fun, safe Labor Day. And let me know, as always, what I can do. 15-minute check-in, strategy, plan are always welcome. I encourage those with each and every one of you, and look forward to connecting with you around next time. Take care, everybody.